Hi everyone, welcome. Happy Friday. So today's topic is really going to be 5 things a Scrum Master should not do, and I am excited to be talking about this today. Yes, so I'm just writing out the topic. 5 things. Hi, so today's topic is about 5 things a Scrum Master should not do. For everyone just joining me, my name is Stella Ihenacho, and I am a certified Scrum Master and Agile coach, and also the Scrum Master faculty lead here at Ensa Technologies. And I'm making it a duty to come on live, Instagram Live, or any other platform, the last Friday of the month to really talk about things specific to Scrum or Agile, answer questions, etc. And I'm really excited about today's topic. I'm gonna, if you join my lives before, I really go straight up into the topic. And today we're talking about 5 things a Scrum Master should not do. Why do I want to talk about this? I remember when I did a video about daily stand-up and the expectations from a Scrum Master's perspective, and someone put in the comment section on YouTube that a Scrum Master should not negotiate with his or her team members, that is where they begin to take ownership of things. You have to be firm, you have to manage them. And I'm like, nah, that is not how it works as a Scrum Master. A Scrum Master is not a manager. A Scrum Master is not a supervisor. A Scrum Master really is there to facilitate and really enhance team spirit, enhance team building. So that's why I want to talk about this topic, because I believe that people have their own different idea of who a Scrum Master is, what Scrum Master should do, etc. And so if you have any input, feel free to put in the comment section. What are the things that maybe you've seen in your environment, or the things that you think a Scrum Master should not do? I have just 5, and I'm going to be talking about them now. Number 1, a Scrum Master is not a project manager. I've done an Instagram live video about the difference between the Scrum Master and a project manager. A Scrum Master is not a project manager. A project manager is responsible for every detail of the project, right? Hi, FA. Every detail of the project, from inception to delivery to design to closing, whatever it is, to planning, executing. But for a Scrum Master, that's a project manager role. But a Scrum Master, your goal really is not just to impose processes and practices. For example, working agreement. You can't just wake up one morning and say, this is how we're going to do things. As Scrum Master, you bring everybody to the table. So everyone's input is important. Everyone's insight is important, because they're doing the work, right? You are more almost like looking in from outside. And so you need their input. You need their buy-in. If you want your team to really be effective, you can't run your team like you're running a military regime. You need everyone's input into whatever you're doing. So be definition of done, be working agreement, be definition of ready, right? So that is where you just don't impose processes and practices. Simple. You're not a project manager. How I like to describe my Scrum team is that every member of a Scrum team is a project manager. So, for example, a developer is responsible for ensuring that their work is done. They're responsible for ensuring that they're within budget, within schedule, that they're overcoming roadblocks, etc. So everyone is literally a project manager in a Scrum team, and that's how I like to break it down. That's my own definition. So for a Scrum Master, don't just pick and impose best practices. Another way for you really is to even coach people. If you think your Scrum team is not matured enough where they understand what best practices are, you coach them. You show them why you need their buy-in. You show them the before and after, right? And so you bring in their input and their insight. And even if they have issues, you're able to resolve it as a team. So number 1, the Scrum Master is definitely not a project manager. Number 2, checking up on what your team is doing frequently. So more like a micromanager. I've had an experience with this, and it wasn't good. And for vulnerability's sake, I'm going to share that with you. I remember when towards the end of a particular sprint, we had a particular story that kept going back and forth from the QA team to the developer, from the QA team, because of bugs that the QA team was finding. And because of the relationship I had with my Scrum team, I always, check in, how are you guys doing? Are you guys great? To see, do you have any roadblocks, And so this particular Scrum team member that I know, that his story was the last thing that had to move over to the Dawn, Dawn swim lane on our Jira board. I kept following up with him, probably too aggressively. Like, what's going on? Can I help you, etc? And do retrospective, he brought that up, that he didn't really like that, because he said he was going to handle it. So why did I have to follow up with him too closely? So that is what you should not do as a Scrum Master. You are not a micromanager. You should not be checking too frequently what your team is doing. Because if you're saying that you're building a cross-functional and a self-organizing team, in the definition of that word, self-organizing, your team can organize itself, right? So if there are gaps, they can move things around. They're really fluid. And cross-functional, I mean that they have all the skills that they need to perform, right? And so if you're checking too frequently, it means that your team is not agile. It means that your team is lacking. It means that you have not done your job as much as you should do as a Scrum Master, which is to build agility within your team, to build cross-functional self-organizing team. And so in as much as you might need to check too frequently, and in the scenario where maybe the team is really new and so their maturity is really low, then you probably need to hold their hands and walk them through and let them be proactive, and I've had things like that too, actually, where the maturity is really low, and I had to really work with them one-on-one and let them know what the expectations are or how they can be better team members. So yes, there are instances where you might want to micromanage, but overall, technically, you shouldn't be checking in too frequently. And if you're noticing that is happening, then maybe during retrospective, you want to raise it up as a topic that, hey guys, what's going on? Why do I need to follow up? What do you guys need? Do you guys need more knowledge? Do you guys need to maybe your team members need to build more confidence in their work? Maybe there's a communication issue within themselves and people who can help them. So you checking it too frequently is, to me, it's a symptom of a lot of issues. And so you want to really go deep down into what those issues are and resolve it, because you want your team to be a well-oiled machine. And if it's not, then we have an issue, right? All right. The third one, I would say, what a Scrum Master should not do is not accommodating changes. Yes. When they say Scrum Guide, and what is a guide? A guide, yes, is to kind of like give you direction as to how you're moving from point A to point B, from, point A to transformation, how things should be done, etc. But really, another thing about Scrum that I've read and I really enjoy, what they say is it gives you room to be flexible. Right, it gives you room to move things around, to come into an environment. I always tell my students, when you come into a Scrum environment, an agile environment, they might say they are agile, they're looking for an agile coach or a Scrum Master. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're practicing that. So you want to see what have they been doing, what is not working. Based on the knowledge that I have, what can I bring and what can I change so that things can be done better, so that products can be done better, so that teams are more efficient and the organization as a whole or the business as a whole is more productive. So you're coming in, not just, I'm going to tell you guys to do X, Y, Z, but you're coming in to observe. That's one of the major soft skills of a Scrum Master, is observe what's going on here and how can I, help them in their transformation journey. And so when I say not accommodating changes, means don't come in and say, oh, you guys are doing daily stand up for 17 minutes. It has to be 15 minutes. You don't know why they're doing for 15 minutes, or why you have to figure out what is going on here. Or why is it maybe doing planning, it takes longer or it's shorter? Or doing retrospective, people just want to be in and out, right? Or doing stand-up, nobody wants to say anything. Like you've got to figure out what the issue is for you to be able to prefer a solution. So as a Scrum Master, you have to be open to change. And when I say change, I want to say a caveat here. Don't say, oh, because they do daily stand-up for 20 minutes. So you guys keep doing it for 20 minutes because it's working for you. No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is be observant enough to see how can I move them towards what the guide says, but still ensure that at the end of the day, the results are speaking, right? Retrospective, for example, let me tell you, some developers don't like retrospective. They feel it's a waste of their time. They feel like, why am I coming here to say all the issues that I'm facing, or the person that I don't like, or the person that was a roadblock to me, if nothing's going to change. So they want to be in and out. That might have been their previous experience with a previous Scrum Master, right? So you are coming in to say, you know what? You might have experienced that. And yes, you're well within your rights to feel like retrospective is a waste of time, because you table issues, you table, concerns, and nothing changes. However, I can assure you as a Scrum Master for this team, I'm taking your concerns literally. And how will you do that? You have to show them that you really mean what you're saying. So either you're assigning what the concerns are or the issues are to specific people, putting it on the sprint, making sure that someone is accountable for executing that thing, putting it on the backlog, or putting part of the sprint so that everybody has visibility towards it. So you want to make sure that you're not accommodating changes, but you are flexible. I really hope that's clear, because you go to an environment and different things happen. So don't just come in with a hammer and crack an egg. Come in gently, you know. If you want your team to not be your enemy, you need to come in, to me, I would say with wisdom. You need to ease into the environment. You need to observe the environment. What, you know, how are they even acting? Some management executives don't believe in Agile and Scrum, you know, and etc. So observation is really important as a Scrum Master. And so once you set up these practices as a Scrum Master, make sure that, you know, you guide the team to even following them and respecting them. Because if they don't follow it, if you tell them, let's do retrospective for, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, and the next week it comes down to 1 hour, next week, like, if you're not stern, if you're not firm with what you're saying, they will think you're just a pushover or you don't even know what you're doing, right? And so let the changes have results, measure the results, and get the buy-in of your team, you know, just patiently into what the changes might be. So that's what I would say. All right. So the fourth thing I would say is Scrum Master should not do. This is really important. A Scrum Master should not be a communication roadblock. And this goes back to my point one, you know, project manager. Because I have background in PM, project management experience and Scrum experience, I know this well. And that is where you become the face of your Scrum team, which is, it's not a bad thing. However, what that is doing is that nobody goes to your Scrum team without going through you, which is not a bad thing. However, what you're doing now is, if you're not there, if someone wants to communicate with your Scrum team, if your product owner, maybe for example, wants to pass on information down, or executive has something, you know, a change they want to make, they will need to look for you. And if you're not there, you become a roadblock. Or even your Scrum team probably want to communicate with a product owner, but they need to communicate. They need to tell you before the message gets to the product owner. You become a roadblock, because if you're not there, work cannot continue. And if your role as a Scrum Master is to help remove impediments, and now you've become an impediment, now it's like, you know, that's a big issue, right? And so you don't want to become a communication roadblock. You know, you want to improve communication within key members, you know, organization, stakeholders, product owners, Scrum team. You know, be a radiator of information. Don't be someone who becomes a communication roadblock, basically. So if your team wants to resolve issues, maybe with the user story, they need more clarity, they should be able to go to the product owner without having to pass through you. Yes, you should be informed. Yes, you should be part of what's going on, but you shouldn't be the one who has the yes and no answer. Right? You shouldn't be the one who they can't do anything without having to pass through you. You have definitely become a roadblock. And yes, remember that the Scrum Master requires a level of authority, and without it, the impediment that you cannot remove. I agree, but then you should not become a communication roadblock, right? All right. So I would say the last but not the least is, one thing the Scrum Master should not do is overhelping. You know, I have experienced this. I've done this, and that's what I'm telling you. You know, and again, back to the maturity of the Scrum team. There's some Scrum teams where you might need to hold their hand, and there's some Scrum teams where they're really mature. You don't need to do all that. But what you're doing over helping again is, if you're not there, work cannot continue. And you might feel like, oh, that makes me indispensable. But what that is saying is that you're not being an effective Scrum Master or an Agile coach. When we say a Scrum Master should help remove impediments or be a roadblocker remover, you know, what we're trying to say as well is you enhance your team. You show your team how. And based on maturity, a particular team might need hand-holding to do that, and that team might not, right? But you don't want your team to have to depend on you to remove roadblocks. Let them think for themselves. Hence, you know, they are self-organizing. Guide them. So even, for example, doing daily stand-up, if your team members are talking about roadblocks that they have, right, you cannot necessarily say, okay, I'm going to help you do that. No, you can say, I'm going to work with you, because they might not know who to escalate to. They might not know who to reach out to. They might need some guidance, and that's where you come into play, providing them that guidance, telling them who to escalate to. And if there is some sort of, you know, nothing is happening, everything is stuck, that's where you come in with the power or the influence rather that you have as a Scrum Master to help them. However, if you're over helping them, if you're telling them what to do, going to fight their battle for them, getting involved in every issue that they have, you know, what would happen is that next time that they have that issue, they would depend on you. They will feel like their hands are tied and they can't do anything. And while this might be cool for you in the short run, in the long run, they would complain that because you are not there, they cannot get their work done. When that issue is not resolved, they will put the blame on you. And so now you're creating a very dysfunctional Scrum team. And so my recommendation for this is look at what the issues are. Retrospectives are always a good time to really do a deep dive to issues. And so if you find out that you're overhelping your team or a particular team member is not proactive, and I'll give you a classic example. I remember doing daily stand-up, we had, that was a new sprint, and we had a particular developer working on a story, and day after day and day after day, he's always saying the same thing. He's working on it, or he's stuck here, he's working on it. And we knew that. And after the first day, okay, second day, third day, and you have like a 10-day sprint, there is something off here. And I had to have a one-on-one with him. And the one-on-one actually came after I gave him a recommendation after daily stand-up, which is, why don't you pair yourself? Why don't you share what your issues are with a particular senior developer, and maybe he can help you resolve this issue. But then the next daily stand-up, he says the same thing, that, oh, I have been busy, I've not had time to touch base with XYZ to work on this. To me that was an issue. And so I approach him and ask him, what is going on? Why is it that you're sitting on this story? This story has been on doing for days, for a 10-day sprint, we're not making any progress. What is going on? And so that's where you come in as a Scrum Master to have that one-on-one, to speak to the person, to ask the person what really is going on, why is there a delay, and remind them of the fact that if one story doesn't get done, we don't single out team members, it's the whole team. It affects the velocity of the whole team. It affects, the story, everybody's affected. So that's where the teamwork comes into. It's not like when you're doing maybe in a waterfall environment where your manager might get the blame. Everybody's involved in this. And so you have to be proactive, and that person needed more of a hand holding as opposed to other people in the team who knew exactly what to do. They knew they had roadblocks. They knew who to meet. They knew when to escalate to me. They knew when to put me copy in emails, when to put product owners, so, and that is a team that is self-organizing, a team that is well ordered. Even if I'm not there, even if you're not there, they can function on their own, right? And so I think that is really, really important. So stop getting directly involved in solving and more like guide them. Now, so that brings me to the end of my 5 things a Scrum Master should not do. I know this video was really, really quick, but I'm just really going to go over the highlight of all the 5 things that I said. Number 1, stop behaving like a project manager. Stop being a micromanager. Be flexible, accommodate changes. Yes, the Scrum Guide is there, but the Scrum Guide also gives us room for flexibility. So be flexible, accommodate changes, observe what is going on in your environment and see what things that you can move around. And the perfect scenario for accommodating changes, sorry for digressing, will be COVID-19. Now, see, a lot of Scrum teams are remote, right? Most of them have no choice. And so daily stand-up is it might not be 15 minutes, it might be less, it might be more, right? It might be people just coming in, talking about what they've done, or going back out, or even just using particular boards to just put in the things that they have done. So again, if we say we're going to do it the way the Scrum Guide is saying we should do it, that means we're not flexible. And what is the key thing about agility really is flexibility and change, right? All right, the other one I talked about was being a communication roadblock. Don't be a communication roadblock. Don't be the reason why your team can move forward because you are holding information. If there's one thing you should be as a Scrum Master, is really be a radiator for information. And the last but not the least, overhelping. Don't be an overhelper. You're not like written here. Don't be a Scrum dad. Don't be an overhelper. Guide your team. Direct them, but don't overhelp them, because when you're not there, it means that they cannot function, and then you're building a very dysfunctional Scrum team. I hope this has been helpful. And for anyone who is not aware, we're doing a 2-day master class on Scrum ceremonies. I am excited about this master class. It's 2 days. Who would have thought you could do Scrum ceremony master class in 2 days? We're going to be going over every of the Scrum ceremony. I mean, in and out. There's one thing you read on the Scrum Guide, then that thing that actually happens in real life. I mean, you have team members that don't want to even come into your room. They don't want to be involved in any of the ceremonies. They feel it's a waste of time. Or you're just organizing ceremonies because they say you should organize ceremonies in a particular class, or you read it somewhere, and you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? To what effect? Towards the result? I'm going to be doing such a deep dive. I mean, real talk, real experience, real what has happened in real life. And also, I think the amazing part of this masterclass is you would have an opportunity to ask specific questions, so questions that are very, very personable to you. You will ask these questions, and I will be providing you real answers that will lead to results. So how can I do, or how can I manage, disruptive team members? How can I get the buy-in of management? What do I do with this particular report? What do I do with this particular artifact? Whatever that situation might be, from the daily stand-up, to planning, to retrospective, to review, even to refinement, even like, I don't want to go into detail. Just know that the 2 days masterclass is going to be so jam-packed. I'm encouraging you to check out one of our posts. All the information is in there, or the link in our bio. You can read up on the expectations on that masterclass, on how to register. Do not miss it for anything. If you know anyone who is either a new Scrum Master, a Scrum Master right now, or thinking about becoming the Scrum Master, I think the Scrum ceremonies are a key. They're a key event where we use the whole inspection, being adaptive and just being transparent, and then we have reports coming out of there that feed into the organization. So I'm going to be talking about all that and much more for the 2 days masterclass. So I'm excited, and I hope you are too. All right, people. So till next time when I come on live, if you have any question, any topic, anything you want me to talk about, put it in the comment section or send a DM. Someone is going to get back to you. And I'm looking forward to our next live, where I bring onto you something else about Agile, Scrum, how to be amazing Scrum Masters, how to be an amazing Agile coach, just giving information about what's going on out there in the Agile world. And that's always my pleasure. All right, people, till next time. Thank you for joining. Bye.